Now, you have probably heard the old statement before, your health is your wealth. And it's so important that we are looking after our physical and our mental health. And in previous episodes of the podcast, I have touched on the importance of managing our mental health and our physical health, and just how important that is as business owners, as entrepreneurs, that we think about implementing steps to successfully manage our health and our wellness. And in today's episode of the podcast, I really wanted to shine a spotlight into health and wellness. And this is something myself I've struggled with over the past couple of years. I've tried to make changes in my life when it comes to my own physical and mental health. And from time to time, I've fallen off the bandwagon. But over the past 18 months, I've really made some important changes for the better, which I feel are really helping me overall. They're helping my business, but are also helping me personally. So I wanted to talk about this journey in this episode of the podcast and share some of my own experiences, but not just my experiences. Bring somebody on today who knows what they're talking about. Do a little bit of a deep dive into the importance of our physical and our mental health and our wellness, and how that can help us generally in all aspects of our lives. So, joining me on this episode today, I'm delighted to have the fantastic Sheila Docker from the Primal Zone. We're going to talk a little bit about what that is all about later on today in the podcast. But Sheila, before we kick into the nuts and bolts of what we're going to talk about in this episode of the podcast, can you give the listeners a little bit of an overview, a background story on how you got to where you got to?
Sure. So, hi Wayne. Thank you for inviting me onto this first ever live for me. I'm Sheila Docker, and I'm a health and wellness coach and a behaviour change coach as well. And for the past few years, I've been running my own coaching business, which is the Primal Zone. So I work with private clients, businesses, and NHS patients, empowering them to make and take charge of their own health and wellness. So it's all about introducing positive and sustainable lifestyle changes and increasing their energy, their strength, their confidence, and obviously their wellness as well. But my passion for what I do stems from my own journey, and I had a 3 decades worth of inflammatory health challenges that's impacted so many different areas of my life. So it's my work, my relationships, my kids, and my passion for life. In fact, during that time, in those 30 years, I still traveled the world. I was backpacking. I worked for Cisco in the early days of Cisco in the 90s. You know, it was really, really exciting time. And I traveled a lot with them. I've run different businesses where I've also traveled a lot. So you've got a bit of a theme going on here. I do love my travel. And I also brought up a family in that time as well. So what I didn't realize is how much I was actually missing out on because I wasn't particularly present, because I was feeling unwell the majority of the time. So although I was living my life, I actually wasn't enjoying it that much because I literally had daily health challenges. And it wasn't just my physical health, there was a huge connection to my mental health as well. So without going into gory details, because it's now about the people that I work with, when was it? About 15 years ago, I was just going in for a second operation, which was brought on by the medication and the health challenges that I'd had. I thought it's about time that I actually took control and responsibility for my own health rather than just running to the doctors every time. So I did my research, and within a week of actually making some changes, I noticed that some of those pesky inflammatory conditions were going away. So with immediate effect, it was like increased energy, my mental clarity improved, and I didn't look pregnant anymore, which is always a good thing. So bonus. And then over the next few months, the other inflammatory challenges like that were impacting my joints and my gut and migraines, etc., also started going away. So yeah, that was 15 years ago. It did start with what I was eating. So it's all about taking things back to basics, really, but also moving more and in a very different way. So less intense exercise and focusing on my sleep and my mindset. And it's funny, Wayne, that when you start to feel better, you then realize how poorly you've been, because you just put up with stuff. You just go, oh, that's the way it is. That's part of aging. That's my mother had that, so I'm obviously going to have it. You think you're inheriting certain conditions, but the majority of the health challenges that we have are actually based on our lifestyle choices. So obviously we do have certain conditions, unfortunately, where we do, thank goodness, need the NHS and the medical professionals. I mean, thank goodness we have those. But there are a lot of things that we can do for ourselves, take responsibility for our own health. And I often say, is it your lifestyle choices that are making you sick? So here I am now, working, loving my work, absolutely loving my work. I've been doing this for a few years now, working with one-on-one with men and women and groups of people, not only in the UK, but globally as well.
Fantastic, Sheila. Now, you've been on quite the journey over the past couple of years, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that journey as we move through this episode. But I want to say hello to Mark joining us here today. Thank you, Mark. Anybody who's listening on the live stream today on LinkedIn, YouTube, we're also going out on Facebook, we're going out on Twitter. We're hitting all of the usual social media suspects today. So if you do have a question, something you would like to ask Sheila this morning, please pop the question into the chat box. And we're going to be picking up on some of these questions, hopefully, as we move through our conversation this morning, because I really try to get as much value out of these conversations as I absolutely can, not only for my own selfish benefit, but also for the people who are listening into the podcast as well on the replay, which is going to be going out on iTunes and Spotify. So this is a great opportunity. If you've got a question, something you're interested in relation to what we're talking about today, please do ask that question. As always, if you are listening to the podcast live today, please do hit the share button so we can get this out to as many people as possible, because there's going to be information here today that's really going to help your overall health and wellness. And that's what we're here to talk about today. Now, Sheila, we've met a couple of years ago on LinkedIn, and we're going to talk a little bit now about the accountability side of all of this as well, because we were holding each other to account when it comes to revisiting our love for music. And you're a bit of a musician yourself. I play the guitar and the banjo. And I think our connection originally developed out of that. And we went on a little bit of a journey of accountability.
Yes, and it's really quite funny because I put a post up, didn't I, about how I'd met someone on a plane who was playing the saxophone, because it was still during lockdown. So I was all masked up. I got chatting with this guy on a plane, and I said, "Oh yeah, how are you finding lockdown?" He said, "Oh, I'm learning the saxophone." I thought, goodness me, I played the flute about 40 years ago. I was in an orchestra. I was a decent standard, and I thought, I wonder if I still got that. So when I got back from my trip, I found my old flute, and the amount of music that I had as well. I thought, goodness me, it was all gobbledygook to me. So I put this post up about, here's my flute. Can't use this flute anymore because the keys would perish, but I could remember how to blow it, but I couldn't remember how to use my fingers and also how to read music. So I put this post up saying, going on a new adventure. This is a good thing for lockdown. And bless you, you saw the post and went, "Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, it's really good. I'm just learning the banjo." So we literally held each other accountable for what's been almost a year and a half now, if not longer. And it might sound a bit strange to people, but we send each other videos over WhatsApp to keep each other motivated. And Wayne is a lot better at it than I am at the moment. I think you have a much more musical family than me, so I'm pretty much on my own here, making myself do the practice. But it's been such a good accountability relationship and friendship, because it has taken us out of our comfort zone to share that sort of thing with each other. It's been lots of fun.
It really has, and in my house, there is a lot of other people who play music, much more better than me. Both of my sons, my oldest boy plays saxophone, the younger guy plays guitar and banjo, and sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming whenever you see them because they've got a lot more time than I have to sit down. They're off for the summer holidays now. Like this morning when I was coming out of the house, Johnny had the guitar picked up and he was learning a new tune, and I could hear it as I'm coming down the stairs. It was like, oh, that sounds so cool. And he literally only had a lesson yesterday with his teacher, and he already has learned most of the song. That
Wow.
would take me 6 months to just piece together to be able to get it to a level that I was, comfortable and confident in playing it in front of people. But you know, teeing up, or with somebody like yourself or somebody in a similar situation to me, running their own business, that I found to be much more beneficial from that whole
Mm,
accountability side of
mm.
things. And it's been great because, as you said a couple of moments ago, we're able to check in with each other. How you getting on with the flute? How you getting on with the banjo? Here's a video. And sometimes you get a video completely out of the blue
I know,
where,
yes.
you've done nothing for ages, and suddenly this video lands and you're like, right, that's the kick up the arse that I need to get back into it. But it has been fantastic.
It has been, and yeah, like you are ahead of the game at the moment. I do need to do more practice. I feel a bit guilty about that now. But what I was going to say, though, going back to the health and wellness element, playing a musical instrument or learning something new where you're taking your mind away from everything else is really good mindfulness. So when I'm blowing the flute, reading the music, and doing the fingers, I can't be thinking about what I'm going to be cooking for dinner or what report I need to write or other elements of my busy brain. It has to be focused on the music, so it's a really good way of switching off, having some time for yourself. Yes, and it gives you that mental clarity. It's amazing.
Now let's switch gears and talk a little bit about what we're here to talk about today, because we could talk all day about our banjos and our flute playing, and that's fantastic. And hopefully there are some people tuned in this morning or listening on the replay who maybe want to embark on that musical journey. You are never
They can
too
join our
old.
band.
They can join our band, but you're never too old really to pick up an instrument and start playing. And I think everyone has some level of musical ability and capability within them. They just gotta experiment a little bit. I want to say hello to Linda joining us here this morning. Always good to hear about the positive impact of healthy lifestyles, and that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the impact that that can have. Now, over the past number of years, let's say over the past 15 years, I have had my own health issues along the way. I think in business and being an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, running a small business, I think we don't talk enough about health and wellness. It's almost a token conversation. Yeah, I need to be looking after my health and wellness. But if you're a small business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, it can be very lonely existence. And you're focusing on the marketing of your product or your service. You're focusing on getting new leads. You're focusing at dashing out to meetings. You're focusing at maybe running a busy home. You've got a family. You're juggling all of these different things. And what I found over my journey over the past 20 plus years, the health and wellness side of things has been pushed to the back burner. And it's only, Sheila, when something has went wrong. Like, I remember ending up in hospital at one point for a couple of days as a result of really burning myself out, not eating properly, not sleeping properly, taking too much caffeine. It triggered an AFib in my heart. I had to go and get that sorted out. And that was really for me at 32, a bit of a wake up call. I said, you know what? I'm not invincible. I need to be looking after my health and wellness. And I really need to take stock of this, and I need to make some changes in my life. Now, that was a real sort of alarm bell moment for me, that I really started to look at the health and wellness side of things. Now, as I mentioned at the start of this, I fell off the wagon a few times. I've went back into bad habits. I'm going to talk a little bit in a couple of moments about intermittent fasting, and that's something that I've got into over the past couple of weeks, which is going really well for me. But would you be in agreement today that when you're working with business owners, when you're working with entrepreneurs, you're working with CEOs, not just here in the UK and Ireland, but also in other parts of the world, they're a lot like me?
Oh yes, 100%. Some of them are a lot older than you, but 100%. Their focus has been totally on their business and their work, and that they are overloaded. And I find that when they do come to me, it's they've got fears and pains, and the fears could be that they're not looking after themselves, so they're finding that their work is slipping, or that they may be coming to retirement or approaching that time where there are changes, yes, transitions taking place. And because of all the stress and because of not looking after themselves, they're then getting the pains. So it could be, you know, gut related. It could be getting a warning shot from the doctor saying that you need to make change, or else you're not going to be able to carry on doing what you're doing. Or like you said, it could be a case of, you know, they could be financially secure and their business could be going very, very well, but suddenly their thoughts of going off on an adventure with their other half turns into their other half being their carer because they've had a stroke. So it's good that at your age you're recognizing this. Unfortunately, you have had some things happen to you, because it can be hidden. It can be these health challenges can be hidden. It's not always shown on the outside, especially with mental health as well, with your mental fitness. So yes, I have quite a few men, certainly, you know, coming to me, and they want to look forward to the future. They want to look forward to doing new things, and they feel that they've lost their mojo a bit. They're potentially they've had some disruption in their relationships, and they're still having to focus on the work side of things. Yeah, there is that expectation, but not only that, we're now a sandwich generation as well. Yeah, we've got elderly parents and we've got children, and everybody wants you to be the best for them. You've got to be on call, whether you're a man or a woman. You know, we've all got this responsibility, and you've got to carry on providing. Now, if you're not looking after yourself, if you're not putting yourself first, they're not going to get the best out of you anyway. So you have to put yourself first. It's not selfish, it's selfless to do that.
Exactly. And do you think that a lot of people overlook this for a long period of time?
Mm.
Do you think social media in particular? I know that sometimes I feel a little bit overwhelmed with social media when I see some of the things that people are popping up on social media about how successful they are. You know, you can almost feel like you've got a little bit of that failure syndrome creeping in, that you're not able to do all of these things that maybe other people are able to do. And you work yourself even harder as a result of that, and you don't focus on the health and the wellness side of things.
Do you know, I was going to cover this later anyway, and I will recover it. But with regards to social media, I mean, comparison is the theft of all joy. So, you know, those people that have put those posts up saying how well they're doing, we haven't seen their struggle to get to that place, or even whether or not they are actually in that place. So you can't obviously believe everything you see on social media or in the news. I mean, we are bombarded 24/7, which is, you know, that is, oh, it's overwhelming, isn't it? So when we are running our own businesses and we're having to build and market and business development and network and this, that, and the other, it's exhausting. So when you do see those sorts of posts and you go, oh, okay, maybe I'm not doing it right, it takes you back a few steps. So you've got to just be kind to yourself,
It really
Wayne.
does. But let's talk about the, you know, you've made an acknowledgement to yourself that something's not right. You need to make a change. Um, what's the next logical step for one to consider if they're about to say, right, okay, I've really been burning the candle at both ends here. I've been burning the midnight oil. I don't feel good. My tummy, my gut feels a little bit weird. You know, I've got other things going on. You know, I've went to my GP. Um, you know, sometimes when you go to, you know, doctors, you know, the sticky plaster comes out, and it's
100%, yeah. Yeah.
here's some tablets, this is going to help. And that, what I find at least is, look, and don't get me wrong, you know, medication is important for, you know, for different ailments and different things people have going on, but maybe it's just masking the problem, and maybe you can get to the root of the problem. You mentioned earlier on inflammatory issues. I mean, that's something, you know, that I think everybody, you know, a lot of stuff even in my own body, inflammatory, and try to deal
Mm.
with that, which is why I've embarked.
And metabolic health as well. Yeah, so your type 2
Yes.
diabetes, your heart disease, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, etc. Yeah, this is all brought on by our lifestyle choices. So the majority of the things that we struggle with health wise, mentally and physically, can be reversed. And if it's reversed, then that means you're no longer taking the medication, or you've reduced your medication. I mean, how brilliant is that? So I agree with you. If you go to the doctors, bless them, they don't have the time. And if you have a multitude of symptoms, as you said, they can't get to the root cause. They only have that 10, 15 minutes. They go, well, this will help, solve that, and this may soothe that. And that's what happened with me. I was just, my body was so confused. So yes, so the question was, what do you do about it? Where do you start?
How do we take that first
Yeah,
step?
yeah. So firstly, you're going to have to want to, because most people know what they need to do, and they're just either in denial, or they say they're too busy, or most people know what they need to do. And I'm not trying to do myself out of a job here as a health and wellness coach, because that brings different things into the equation. But I started firstly with my food. Now, over 60% of what we eat, this is very general because obviously some people don't eat like this at all, is ultra processed foods, which I say, if you can't find it in your kitchen cupboard, or you can't pronounce what the ingredients are, or you have to Google them, or there's more than 5 ingredients, why on earth are you eating it in the first place? And the reason is that they're addictive, but they're also highly inflammatory. Our bodies shouldn't be having them. 80% of our body composition is based on what we put in it. So if you're putting rubbish in, you're going to get rubbish out. And that doesn't mean just physically, it will mean doesn't mean just how you look, but how you feel as well. Yeah, the sluggishness and the bloatedness and things like that. So food was the first thing for me, and literally as soon as I changed, I noticed a difference. But then you
But isn't
focus on
it,
move. Sorry,
it
go on.
isn't the food one hard though? Because there's, like as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you're on the fly a lot. You're
Sure.
running from meeting to meeting. You're going through airports. You're like,
Mhm.
I've seen me going through an airport, for example, and you've got a little bit of a layover, hitting McDonald's for the cheeseburger or the fries, the stuff, and rightly when you go into those places, this is I shouldn't be here. So the food is a challenge. We see a lot of stuff in shops a lot of the
Oh,
times. It's convenient, it's quick, it's
it's cheap.
easy, it's cheap. Yeah, Sheila, absolutely. You see these offers, buy one get one free, all this sort of stuff. And even when you go into the bigger supermarkets as well, they're really pushing those types of offers at you. So, and as you said, do you think people really don't know how to read the back of the packaging, what to look out for, what to spot?
Gosh, well, this would be a hole for us to start digging, because if you look at the front of the packaging, it will have like the traffic lights, but the traffic lights don't really correlate to what the ingredients are in the back. So if they salt's not so bad for you, but sugar is really bad for you. And if you look at a bottle of Coke, it will have all green on the front, but actually it's just made of fake ingredients. So it is difficult, and it is an education. But the way I start talking to people about this, so I run these workshops every Wednesday evening for a surgery near me, with a co-host, and it's for pre and type 2 diabetics. And I get exactly the same thing back that you just said, that well, it's more expensive, it's where do we start? So we are actually educating them on that. But if you think about your grandparents and your great grandparents, and how they used to eat, it was much simpler. Sure, they had other issues going on. My grandparents were big smokers and drinkers. They had war. They didn't have a lot of money, but they grew their own vegetables, and they queued at the butchers to get their meat. So it was all local and seasonal, which you don't have that now. Everything is 24/7 available. You can even have McDonald's delivered to your home. So it is so easy to be able to eat like that. But my whole mantra really is taking things back to basics. And the foods that you would eat, if you do that, keep you fuller for longer. And I do agree with you. You go through an airport, or you go to service stations. I eat high protein, high fat, low carb. That's my way of living, and I haven't eaten today yet, but I feel satiated after the foods I eat, because they're nutritious, they're colourful, they're really tasty, and they keep me fuller for longer. So it's about making the right choices and still enjoying your food. I love food. I love having dinner parties and barbecues and this, that, and the other. But I just make sure that I have the right choices. And
Yeah, I
sorry, and I said to you earlier, the being poorly for 30 years, I now feel better at the age I am now, which is in my very, very, very late 50s, than I did in my 30s and 40s. And that's down to how I'm living my life.
you know what? There's been a great, I suppose, awakening for me through social media in particular. I know sometimes I talk a lot about the negatives of social media, what you need to be aware of, what you're seeing online. But really, I have learned so much over the past couple of months and beyond through people sharing their stories about some of the stuff that you've just talked about, the impact that sugar has,
Mm,
the impact that a lot of this junk food has. And for me, that's almost helped me. Our conversations that we've had push me further down the line and make those changes. So, circling right back around to what we talked about earlier on about the accountability side of things, that's really important. You need to have maybe somebody checking in on you. You need to go
mm,
to someone like yourself to really get that support network around you. Because if you don't have that, it's very difficult to be consistent with this sort of stuff. Because just what you mentioned a couple of moments ago. Other things are convenient. It's handy. Like I've had a busy day. I can't be bothered going to the butcher's and queuing. I'm just going to nip into Tesco or Morrison's and grab a ready meal and fire it in the microwave, and that'll do me. And that's the sort of thing that I find that if you're working in isolation, or you don't have a coach, or you don't
mm.
have a mentor, you don't have somebody that can help you with that, you have less of a success than you would if you were going to something like you've mentioned earlier on a Wednesday evening.
Yes, yeah, and it's about behaviour change, but also why is it important to you? What do you want to get out of it? And if you're happy being sedentary and sitting there with your pizza, watching Netflix, and that makes you feel healthy, or do you want to be able to run around with the grandkids, or go on holiday and do rock climbing, or just do different things? You need to think about what your body can do for you. And your body does treat you so well. I mean, it just looks after you, but we just don't pay the same respect and love back to it.
Now, somebody's asked a great question. How can I possibly avoid sugar when it's in absolutely everything? I think that's a great question because it
Yeah.
absolutely is. I mean, how do we how do we avoid it? Like it's,
You know,
any tips?
yeah, I'm human as well, so I like my dark chocolate. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Sugar is in everything, but that's in the processed foods. So in the less processed foods, you won't find the sugar. So it's about changing what you're eating. It is tough because it's addictive as well. I mean, and it brings zero nutritional value. So yeah, read the labels, check out how much sugar is in it. But remember, it is addictive. It's playing games with you. It wants you to eat more, which you will do.
Oh, absolutely. I know that whenever I used to get a packet of biscuits or tea
Mm,
cakes or something like that, I would literally just go through the whole box. And before I knew it, I didn't feel good about it at the end of it, and you're getting that sort of rush from the sugar.
mm.
And then you're also getting that crash then as the
So,
sugar
so
is
yeah. So
leaving.
without going into talking about insulin and the rest of it, because we haven't got time to do that, but high carbohydrates and high sugary foods will take you on that spike, and then you will come crashing down. And as soon as you eat those things, they turn into glucose in your blood. So you are playing havoc with your whole body. It doesn't like it. Your liver can't cope. And that's why we put on so much weight as well. So I'm not going to get technical about glucose and insulin and the rest of it, but those sorts of foods, you're becoming dependent upon them, because after you've had that crash, you want to have that same feeling that you had before. So you will reach for another cookie, or a sandwich, or bag of crisps, whatever, and that will go through the day. And if you look at the diet of most people, it is constant grazing, and the highs and the lows. And what you want is you want it to be like that during the day, so that your body is feeling happy and satiated, and it's getting food is a fuel. We eat because our body needs us to eat. It needs us to
We
eat the right things.
we do. Now let's talk about something I've been experimenting with. Let's use the word experiment because
Mm-hmm.
I am still experimenting. I don't know yet how things are going to pan out with this, but I have embarked on the journey of intermittent fasting. Now, previously, I was having some issue with my foot and my ankle. Again, it's an inflammatory issue. I
Mhm.
know that. I went to the doctor. The sticky plaster came out. Here's some medication, Wayne. Go on your way. Yes, it helped a little bit, but then once I stopped on the medication, it came right back. So I started to go, right, what's bringing this back? What's causing this inflammation in my ankle and my foot? And how do I address the root cause of it? And I started to do a little bit of research. Um, Again, watching some videos on social media,
Mhm.
mostly TikTok, about people talking about the benefits of intermittent fasting. Now, I'm going to make a confession here. When I heard about intermittent fasting, I thought, absolutely no way. I could not do that. I need my breakfast. I need my mid morning snack. I need my lunch. I need my afternoon snack. I need my tea. I need my supper because I couldn't, there was like, I literally couldn't go to bed without having something to eat. And I found when I got into bed, then if I couldn't sleep, I was hungry and I was coming back down the stairs and I was opening the fridge and I was eating something like a white bread sandwich or something of some description just to get me off to sleep. So I said, right, I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to try this for a couple of days and see how it goes. Now, again, a confession. The first couple of days, it was hard. Like I fell off the wagon. I got hungry. I actually forgot myself. Where I said, right, all right, 8 o'clock at night, I'm stopping eating, and I'm not going to eat
Mhm.
till 12 o'clock the next day. But then I found about 10 o'clock, I was going to the cupboard and I was going for a packet of crisps, and I was breaking the fast. So I really had to,
Breaking the
be
fast with a bag of crisps.
a bag of crisps. Not good. So I really had to look at that again. So now I'm on the wagon. I've been at it now a couple of weeks. I'm finding that my hunger is subsiding. I'm not,
Mhm.
I'm able to do the 16 hours, and not have any breakfast. What's your thoughts on intermittent fasting?
Oh, I think it's brilliant. It's not for everybody, and if you're pregnant or you're a child, you shouldn't be doing it. But it's been around for centuries. It's not a new fad. There's different cultures and religions that use intermittent fasting, so it's not something that's new, and anybody can do it. Um, and it's all it is. It's about cutting down the eating window. So where we're used to just grazing through the day, like you just described, you just cut down that window. So you're doing 16/8, which means you're not eating for the 16 hours. And you don't need to do it every day. You could do it for a few days and then, but it depends on what works for you. Just play with it. But the idea is that you can eat the same amount in that time. I wouldn't recommend that you go, right, I've just finished my fast, I'm going to go off and have McDonald's. Try and introduce some good foods in after the fast. I know people that have done 24-hour fasts. As a matter of fact, one of my clients said, I'm going to do a 24-hour fast. And because she did, I did too. And I thought I wouldn't be able to manage that. But actually, once she got over the 20-hour mark, I felt like I was on a high almost. It was, I wasn't hungry, but I had this extra energy and mental clarity. It was quite amazing. So like I say, it's been practiced for thousands of years, so it's not a new thing. But I think it's becoming more and more popular because people are seeing the benefits that it gives their body. When you're giving your body a rest from that constant eating, your body needs time to heal and to grow and to repair, etc. So there's no strict rules to how you do it. You could do it 12/12, or just introduce yourself slowly. Maybe just do 1 or 2 days a week to start with, see how you feel, because it does take a bit of getting used to. But it'd be amazing how many people that say, well, I don't have breakfast anyway. Okay, so you're already on the way there, by doing that. So we used to say everybody should have a breakfast, but actually it doesn't work for everybody, does it? So the benefits of fasting, one of them may be weight loss. It enhances your insulin sensitivity, promotes heart health, helps reduce inflammation. That's a good one for you and I. Increasing mental clarity and energy, like I just said, but also cellular repair. It's called I can never say the word, autophagy. And it's where it removes the damaged cells, but helps recycle other cells. So it's actually really, really good for you. You have to have done quite a bit more than the 16 hours to get to that stage. But it's not a long time to wait for a meal, really. It's just we're so used to eating constantly that's the challenge, isn't it? It's going, right, okay, so now I'm going to have something at 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 1 o'clock, and then I'm only going to eat till that time. But if you eat the right quality foods, like I say, if you're eating protein and fat, so a diet high in protein and fat, you're going to feel fuller anyway, and you're going to be getting all the right nutrients.
Yeah, and one of the things I've noticed as well, I've started to push it out a little bit as well. Like yesterday was a good example of this. I was at a meeting, and the fast sort of came to an end at like 12:30, and I was in the city, and I could have went and got something to eat, but I said, you know what, I'm going to head on home because I'm going to see how long I can last. And I got to like probably about 18 hours yesterday. So I'm slowly sort of pushing the needle a little bit further. And I would love to try at some point one of those 24-hour fasts, one of those
We'll
36-hour
do it
fasts.
together. We'll hold each other
Yes,
accountable. Yeah, there you
that's
go.
what I probably need is the
Yeah.
accountability side of things. But I'll tell you one thing I'm really excited about. Do you know the way you go back to the local GP surgery and you get your annual bloods done?
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually looking forward to that point. If I can stick on this journey
Mm-hmm.
and then I go back to the GP surgery and they like do all the stuff that they do in the bloods, I'm really interested to see how those bloods
Yeah.
actually look in terms of the things that you've mentioned already. Because I'm sure before I started on this, they probably weren't as good as they could have been.
Doesn't say, yes, absolutely. And it also depends on what you are eating in that window of opportunity to actually fuel your body. It does depend on what you are eating. So if you're eating high sugar, high carb foods, then you are going to have that. So yeah,
And
so eat good foods.
what would you recommend, just when we're on that topic of foods? Like, if you're doing this intermittent fast, have you any thoughts around, right, okay, what should you be looking at? What would be a good sort of mixture,
Yeah.
without going to McDonald's or, going and eating something that's not really going to do you any, let's be honest, you've did all the hard work and now you're going and undoing it by putting loads of
Yeah,
junk and crap
that's
back
a
in.
good point. So if I'm at home, so in about an hour, I'm going to have some scrambled egg and some avocado, maybe some bacon with it as well. So that would be my lunch. Eat plenty of vegetables. Eat plenty of meat and fish, and like I say, avocados are a good fat. Nuts and seeds. So there is so much out there that you can have, but obviously we are so used to having everything wrapped in some bread or with some pasta. But there is I'll send you some information and maybe you could share it with your listeners anyway about what you could do to break the fast and then to eat through the day.
Totally. Now, let's talk a little bit about some of the services that you provide for businesses and entrepreneurs in particular. Can you give us a little bit of an overview of what some of those things look like? I mean, you mentioned that not only do you work with people in the UK, but you also work with people overseas. And I suppose that's the great thing about the technology that we're using here today and things like Zoom and Microsoft Teams. It is very possible to get started on this journey. And it always starts with the initial point of contact. But what are some of the key things that you can help the busy entrepreneur with? Somebody like myself who's really looking to say, right, okay, I've got that wake up call now. What do I do next?
So with regards to the services I offer, obviously I do like one-to-one, face to face. That's always good, but the majority of my clients aren't near me. So I've worked with entrepreneurs in Australia and America. The majority of people that come to me actually are either running their own businesses or they are management in companies where all the expectation is on them to deliver. So my focus is on, I do a 12-week program generally. Sometimes it's extended to 24 weeks. But it's very holistic. So we cover everything from nutrition, from your sleep management, strategies to reduce your stress, about the importance of movement, but also the importance of sun and play and social connection. So it's all about, it is very holistic. So it's all about your whole mental and physical well-being. And making sustainable changes. So the idea, you're not on a diet, you're just changing your diet if we're going to refer to the food side of things. But the changes are sustainable. So the idea is that this is for the rest of your life. Yeah, you're going to feel absolutely amazing. Why would you not want to continue that anyway? But also for people that focus not on just making quick changes for now, so I want to get into this dress or this suit, or I need to run 5K or whatever. It's looking at bigger objectives as well. So adventures that you may want to have, or your holidays that you're having and you're planning in 5 years' time, or the fact that you want to be, so one of my clients, he runs his own business, got quite a large team. He's doing really, really well. He's very happy in so many elements of his life, but his health was letting him down. So he had some big things coming up this year, and he needed to make sure that he was looking his best, because he was going to be on stage and he wanted to look confident and comfortable in himself. But also he was having panic attacks, but also issues with his gut, and he wasn't sleeping, and he was having trouble walking up the stairs, whereas he used to be quite a fit man. So it was turning everything else around in order for him to be able to walk up on stage and feel fabulous in himself. And it's, whether you're a man or a woman, that's really important, isn't it? Feeling like you're thriving, not just surviving, which is what I was doing for those 30 years. Having body confidence and confidence in your body and what it can do for you.
And that's where I think, Sheila, that accountability side of things is so important. I mean, I don't want to keep banging on about that, but
Mm-hmm.
it really is so important, because if you are running a business, it can be a very, very difficult, challenging, isolating thing. And, having someone there just to check in on you, to give you some strategies, to give you some tools. Like, one of the changes I made this week is I joined the gym.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
I can't even believe it myself. But if I had a thought, 10, 15 years, I'm not a gym person, going along. It's just not me. But again, I had a little bit of accountability going on. Actually, ironically enough, it's my son who's 15 years of age
Oh,
who
wow.
has got into the gym scene in a big way. And he's been saying to me over the past couple of months, Dad, why don't you come to the gym with me? The gym's great. You'd enjoy it. Come down. And I've seen him go through a little bit of a transition over the past couple of months where he's, obviously he's got a lot more time than I do. He could go to the gym more frequently than maybe I can. But I found that those were a little bit of excuses for my part as well. That I didn't have the time. But I've seen him now, looking a lot better. He's feeling a lot better in himself. He's a lot more confident. And I joined the gym on Monday, and he was taking me through some of the different things that we could do in the gym and showing me how to use some of the machines. And again, it's just that little bit of accountability. So when I woke up today, he says, "Oh, I went Monday. I took a break yesterday because I was feeling a little bit sore, a little bit stiff. I was kind of going, oh God, what have I signed up for here?" But and he said to me, "Look, why don't we go to the gym today at 3 o'clock?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay, why not?" So
And
I'm
that's
back
lovely
to
that
the.
you're doing that together as well. So I would say to people, and I use it a lot, but what do you want your body to be doing for you when you hit 40, 50, 60, 70 and beyond? Like I said earlier, it's not about just for today's challenges, but for the rest of your life. And if I had an 80-year-old coach, they would say it's about stability, flexibility, strength. What's the other thing? Balance, because as you get older, if you fall, you might not be able to get up again. So it's about making sure those key components are in place. And as you were saying about your son feeling more confident, you hold yourself differently when you're doing strength exercises. So just quickly, our muscle mass and our bone density, that it starts leaching from us from our 30s. We start losing it. So that is something that we really need to keep on top of as we get older. So whether you're in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, whatever, we need to work on our strength. Our strength, our mobility, our flexibility, and our balance are so key. And then also that 80-year-old coach would say, don't worry about social media, don't worry about comparing yourself to other people, because actually the important thing is how you feel in yourself and how you feel you're going to be able to achieve certain things as you get older. It's not just for now.
Now, one final question, to throw a curveball into the mix here today. It's not too late to turn it around. Exactly. That's what I keep saying to myself, in terms of, it doesn't matter where you are in your journey. It doesn't matter what stage you are. it's not too late to turn it around. You
No,
can make
no.
small changes.
And I would encourage baby steps. Don't try and do everything in one go. And if you feel that, um, yeah, just be mindful about choices that you're making. So, as I said earlier, we're all human. We all make mistakes, but don't allow that mistake, whether it's to do with exercise or something you've eaten, for you to go, oh, well, that's it. I failed. I'm giving up now. Just just say, okay, so how did that make me feel? So say, for instance, it's a very nice glass of wine, you know, because I like my wine. I would go for your favorite glass of wine, and notice how it smells and it tastes, and how does it make you feel? Does it impact your sleep? And how does it make you feel the next day? And then just move on. Yeah, if we knock ourselves with all the choices we're making, we won't make change.
And we didn't talk a lot about alcohol today, which is a huge component in many people's lives.
Really
Look, you
is
know what? I like a beer. I like a glass of wine. Sometimes I'm guilty of overindulging, and I have been. But what I've noticed over the past couple of months is I've become more aware of my alcohol intake,
good.
and I'm also starting to reduce that overall alcohol intake as well. When I had that inflammatory issue again with my ankle, I completely went off alcohol for like 4 weeks. And you know
Good.
what? I actually didn't miss it.
No.
But what I did find was very interesting. Uh, Whenever I thought my foot had almost healed, I went out for a friend's birthday and I overindulged in alcohol. The next day, I was right back to where I was
Yeah.
again
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
the inflammation, Sheila.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
back.
I know. I know. So we can always talk about alcohol another time, but it's everything's connected. So people might go, well, I'm not sleeping. I've got issues with my sleep. And then we go, well, why do you think that is? Well, I'm stressed out because of work, and that's impacting my gut. And because I'm not sleeping, I'm tired, so I'm not moving more. And so all it's like a vicious circle. So that's why it's such a holistic way of coaching, because it isn't just the one thing. The amount of people that come to me and go, oh, I want to lose weight. And that's their priority. And actually, within a few weeks, the scales haven't moved much, but they're going, I feel stronger, and actually, my clothes are looser on me. And so it's encouraging and recognizing different wins, because we are all different.
Yeah, and I definitely think totally that's something we can pick up in another conversation and shine the spotlight in on those aspects that can be impacting people on a regular basis. And it is
Yeah.
about, for me at least, trying to make small changes, not overwhelming yourself, not to do something, that, is going to be too hard, too difficult for you, but try to phase it in sort of, small increments, which is why, when I shared my experience with intermittent fasting, I fell off the wagon a few times. I've fallen off the wagon where alcohol is concerned, where bad foods are concerned, and we're only human. But it is about reflecting on that and acknowledging on that and say, right, I'm going to try and do better, I suppose, as opposed to beating myself up and giving
Oh,
myself a really hard
don't beat
time.
yourself up. Ask. So I would say to people, why is it important? What if you want to make change? Why? Why is that important? And what's that going to mean for you? How's that going to impact your life? Because if they just go, well, someone such and such told me I should do this, well, that's not going to make you stick at it. And stop beating yourself up, but also stop comparing yourself with other people. This is your foundation. Just think, okay, so what's the best possible version of me, not of anybody else or what anybody else thinks I should be. It's embracing how you feel about yourself and where you want to be.
I love it. I love it. And pat yourself on the back.
Absolutely.
Be proud of what you're achieving. Like when I woke up this morning, when I get to 12:30 today, we're nearly there. I'm gonna be like, yes, that's another day
Yeah.
done of intermittent fasting. And I'm delighted, and I can go and celebrate with some good food as opposed
Hey.
to taking myself along to McDonald's or the local Chinese buffet or whatever else it is. Now, before we finish up, because I'm conscious of time, I want to thank everybody for joining into the live conversation today. Those questions that we had earlier on, really do appreciate it. But how can people find out a little bit more about the Primal Zone, about Sheila, what you do, how you help people? I'm going to flash the website up
Oh,
on the
thank you.
screen, but what can people find out about whenever they go to your website?
Oh
What's
gosh,
there?
there's loads on my website. It's probably a website that I need to look at cutting down a little bit, because I've got so many testimonials on there, fabulous testimonials, and I've actually broken it down now into men, women, and businesses. I mean, the business work I do is very different. It's about groups and getting more productivity and performance and positivity from their teams, as well as less sick days. I've got a lot of information about the different courses I run, what is Primal, and what's Primal Living, and yeah, lots of info. Oh, and actually there's recipes on there as well, and I have a cookbook, and the PDF of the cookbook is free of charge. If anybody wants it, just email me,
Oh, I'm
and
going to check the cookbook out.
I might send you a copy actually, as my
Yeah,
accountability partner.
that'd be great. Yeah, no, that
Yeah,
would be great. So people do stop by, check out the website. It's on
yeah,
screen at the moment, theprimalzone.com. You're on LinkedIn as well. You've been pushing out a lot of content on YouTube
yeah.
Shorts over the past couple of weeks.
I know, thanks for that. I'm getting all my technical knowledge from you, but no, it's fun, and yeah, even like you were saying earlier, it's never too late. You're never too old to do things. So I'm learning new things about technology, putting myself out there, because if people don't know what you do, then why would they come to you in the first place? So yeah, I share a lot about my client stories mostly.
Yeah, and of course, where we connected originally was over on LinkedIn. So you're very
Mhm.
active on LinkedIn. So if you've
I am.
enjoyed this episode of the podcast today, you've been
Check
listening
me out.
along. Yeah, check you out. You've been listening along on YouTube, over on Facebook, Twitter, or indeed here on LinkedIn, or you're picking this podcast up on the replay. Please do connect with Sheila. A fantastic person to connect with. Great on the accountability side of things. I can
Mm.
100% vouch for that. And I am looking forward to checking out the cookbook, and I will have links
Yeah,
on how to connect with Sheila and indeed get access to that cookbook in the show notes. Look, Sheila, it's been fantastic. We have overshot the runway today
I
with our
know, I
conversation.
know.
I told you it was only going to be 30 minutes, and
You
I
did.
I lied because I knew when we got
It's
into
been
this
fun.
conversation,
It's been a lot
yes,
of fun. It's been a lot of
I
fun.
knew there was going to be a lot of stuff to cover, and no doubt there's been a lot of value added to people here who tuned in this morning, and indeed people who are picking it up on the replay. So once again, I want to thank you as well for giving me the time today to come on and share this information. And what we will do is let's revisit this again in the not too distant future and
Brilliant.
talk a little bit more, because do you know what I think? It's something that doesn't get enough conversations. And I think that's the thing about it. The more we talk about it, the more we become aware about it,
Mm, mm,
and the more we might be willing to go away and make some changes. But I think one of the key steps is reaching out to somebody like yourself and getting that structure, and getting those strategies and getting on that program to really help push you to where you need to go to. Excellent. So once again, check out Sheila's website. Sheila, it's been fantastic as
thank you
always
so much.
to have a conversation with you, and we'll pick this up definitely in the not too distant future. And if you have any questions that you would like to ask, please field them into me. I can connect you with Sheila over on LinkedIn. And again, I can vouch Sheila is very approachable, and she'd be delighted to have a conversation with you. So once
Will
again,
be.
Sheila, thank you for joining me on this episode of
Thank
the
you very much.
podcast.
Thank
So there you have it, guys. What a fantastic conversation today with Sheila. Really important stuff to think about if you are a business owner, you're running a small business, you're an entrepreneur. How do you really start to think about making some of these small changes towards having a healthier overall wellness? And that's what's really important for all of us. And I found myself that has really helped me on my journey, exploring intermittent fasting, starting to think about the inflammation in my body and some of the small changes that I could make without the pharmaceutical solution, I suppose, to maybe address that overall root cause, which was causing that inflammation. So, once again, I want to thank you for taking time out today to join me on episode 62 of the Zero Lives Left podcast. And don't forget, if there's something you would like me to cover in an upcoming episode of the podcast, please do reach out and get in touch. Stop by the Zero Lives Left podcasting website. Lots of great information and resources available over there. And I'll see you for the next episode of the Zero Lives Left podcast coming your way very soon.